Today is going to be a great video. We are talking about composting, so stay tuned. Composting is Mother Nature's gift to you. It is a free and fantastic way to put nutrients back into your garden and reuse and recycle old materials, old plants, old organic matter, and turn it into something that can be reused and help grow your plants throughout the rest of the season. So composting at its core is a relatively simple concept. There's just two main things you need to know so I don't get you all confused and get you flustered and making you think that this is something that's really complicated to do, because it really isn't. Composting has two primary things that you need to understand so you can do it. It's basically two parts, okay? You're taking green materials that have a lot of nitrogen in them, and then you're taking brown materials that have a lot of carbon in them, which are both very essential nutrients for plant growth, health, and development. And you are essentially mixing those two together and providing the right conditions for aerobic bacteria to grow and break those nutrients down that is in those green and brown materials to the point where they can be absorbed and beneficially used by the plants themselves. So with composting, there are two main types of bacteria. There are aerobic bacteria, which are the good ones, and anaerobic bacteria, which are the bad ones. Aerobic bacteria form and start to cultivate whenever they're supplied with oxygen during the composting process. So that's why we turn compost, we move it around, we agitate it. It's to get that oxygen in there and keep those aerobic, those beneficial, the good bacteria growing. They're the ones that are going to quickly break down those nutrients into exactly what you want, into that nice, healthy compost that you can add to your garden within weeks or months. Anaerobic bacteria are the bad kind. If you don't turn your compost enough, if you don't move it enough, if you keep it stagnant, then those anaerobic bacteria, that bad bacteria, will start to take over. And once they take over, it's bad news. It takes forever for your compost to actually break down, and honestly, your batch is probably ruined by that point. So here, sitting on the table, elephant in the room, I have some of the Dr. Earth compost starter that I'll be using today, along with a composting tumbler. You can use this with any type of method that you want to compost with. If you're a pile person, you like just piling stuff on, power to you. If you like using a tumbler or maybe just a regular bin, whatever it is that you use, this will work for any of those things. So a lot of people think that compost is essentially just adding free nutrients to the soil, and the reality is it actually does a lot more than that. Compost is essentially humus, which adds humic acid to your soil, which helps with a plethora of different things, water retention, nutrient uptake, you name it, humic acid does it. So that's another big thing and another big reason why Dr. Earth is such a big believer in composting is because we believe in humic acid. We know how vital it is to healthy plant growth. So Dr. Earth fertilizers contain way more humic acid than most other fertilizer companies bother putting in their fertilizers. And that's really why we believe so much in this concept of composting. So yeah, composting, it does way more than add nutrients. It helps you recycle, helps you become more sustainable. It's a fantastic and Mother Nature's gift to us to be able to use. So I went online and I bought this composting tumbler, mostly because it's just super easy to use. So this is what I'll be using to start my new composting pile today here in my garden. Compost tumblers, you can order them online for pretty cheap. They're pretty easy to put together, and they're extremely effective way to compost, especially if you're new to it. You don't want to go through the hassle of coming through your compost pile every day with a shovel and a rake and having to dig it up and do all that stuff, on a daily basis. This is a great way to mitigate those annoyances of composting. So the purpose of a tumbler is essentially to it keeps everything dark, compressed, moist and humid and keeps that heat in, which is why it's colored black. It helps keep that heat in to really get the compost going a lot quicker. And then on top of that, it tumbles, which is why it's called a tumbler, right? You can spin it really easily. And the purpose of that is when you're turning your pile, right? When you're turning your tumbler, what you're doing is you're mixing up those greens, those browns, getting them all mixed and interspersed together, so they come together nicely. And you're also aerating it, right? You're adding some air and getting some fresh air into that middle of that pile that's covered up and wouldn't be getting air otherwise. So you're encouraging that right bacteria to grow. That's what a tumbler does that makes it so easy, is you just come out here, you tumble, you add some air, you mix around your pile, and then that's it.
It can take a couple months to compost sometimes, so it's good to have a dual chamber composter like this where you can start one pile and move one pile as it's starting to finish the composting process. Once you've opened one of the chambers, you can go ahead and start adding your greens. These can be food scraps, coffee grounds, and you can even go out in your backyard and pull some weeds and throw them right in there. Even old flowers will do the trick. Next, you can start adding your browns, and here I'm just adding some dead branches. Make sure you do about a 50-50 mixture between greens and browns. Don't ever put too much of one or the other. Cardboard also makes a great brown, and it's easily accessible. Now you've got everything in there and you're ready to add some of the compost starter. To add the starter, just add about a cup for every 10 gallons of compost. And it's just that simple. A big key to composting is also adding water every time you come out and tumble, just to keep that moisture up. You don't want things to be soaked, which is why I love a tumbler, because it'll spit out the excess water so your things just aren't drenched in water. Now you're ready to close it up, tumble, and come back and repeat the process of watering and tumbling every couple days. You can also add equal amounts of green and brown during these times. Before you'll know it, it'll start breaking down into beautiful compost. Good compost should have a dark, rich color to it that reflects all of that humic acid, and when it's compressed, it should kind of squeeze and mold together without being soaked. It shouldn't smell, and it should be completely broken down, and that's how you know when your compost is ready.
So with all that being said, I hope you guys have a much better understanding now of how to compost, and I will see you guys next time.